The land we now call the United States was once home to a vibrant mosaic of indigenous cultures. For thousands of years before European arrival, diverse Native American tribes thrived across the continent. They developed complex societies with unique languages, traditions, and governance systems. From the Pueblo people of the Southwest to the Iroquois Confederacy of the Northeast, these nations forged deep connections to the land and its resources. Their stories, often passed down orally through generations, paint a rich tapestry of human experience long before the arrival of European explorers. These tribes were skilled farmers, hunters, and stewards of the environment. They possessed intricate knowledge of plants, animals, and the delicate balance of nature. Their lives were interwoven with the rhythms of the seasons and the bounty of the land. Their stories, beliefs, and ways of life offer a glimpse into a past often overlooked in traditional historical narratives. Understanding their history is essential to understanding the full story of the United States.
The arrival of Christopher Columbus in 1492 marked a turning point in history, ushering in an era of European exploration and colonization. Seeking new trade routes and driven by ambitions of wealth and empire, European powers, including Spain, France, and England, began to establish a presence in the Americas. They encountered the indigenous populations, leading to a complex and often tragic clash of cultures. While some interactions were peaceful, many were marked by conflict, disease, and displacement. As European powers staked their claims, they established colonies that would become the foundation of the United States. The English, in particular, established a strong foothold along the Atlantic coast. They brought with them their own customs, beliefs, and systems of governance, which they sought to impose on the new land. The stories of these early colonies are tales of hardship, resilience, and the growing pains of a new nation taking shape. The introduction of European diseases such as smallpox devastated Native American populations. Combined with forced displacement and warfare, these diseases led to a tragic loss of life and the disruption of indigenous societies. This period also saw the rise of the transatlantic slave trade. Millions of Africans were forcibly brought to the Americas as enslaved laborers, their forced labor fueling the growth of colonial economies. The legacy of slavery would leave a deep and enduring scar on the nation's history.
By the 18th century, tensions were rising between Great Britain and its American colonies. As the colonies grew in population and economic power, they chafed under British rule. The colonists, many of whom had developed their own sense of identity and independence, resented what they saw as unfair taxation and restrictions on their liberties. The cry of no taxation without representation encapsulated the growing discontent. In 1775, these tensions erupted into the American Revolution. The colonists, led by figures like George Washington, fought for their independence from British rule. The Declaration of Independence, adopted on July 4, 1776, proclaimed the colony's right to self-governance and articulated the ideals of liberty and equality. The war for independence was a long and arduous struggle, testing the resolve of the colonists. The American victory at Yorktown in 1781 marked a turning point, leading to the Treaty of Paris and the recognition of the United States as an independent nation. The newly formed nation faced the daunting task of forging a new government. The Constitution, ratified in 1788, established a system of checks and balances and a framework for a more perfect union. The Bill of Rights, added in 1791, guaranteed fundamental freedoms such as speech, religion, and assembly.
Section 4. A nation expands westward bound. With the young nation established, a spirit of westward expansion took hold. Driven by the belief in manifest destiny, the idea that the United States had a divine right to expand its territory to the Pacific Ocean, Americans pushed westward. This expansion led to increased conflicts with Native American tribes, who were often displaced from their ancestral lands. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the size of the United States, opening up vast territories for exploration and settlement. Pioneers, lured by the promise of land and opportunity, embarked on perilous journeys across the continent. They faced harsh weather conditions, rugged terrain, and conflicts with Native American tribes. The Oregon Trail, the Santa Fe Trail, and other routes became lifelines for those seeking a new life in the West. This westward expansion had a profound impact on the nation's development, shaping its economy, its identity, and its relationship with the rest of the world. However, the expansion came at a great cost to Native American tribes. Treaties were often broken and tribes were forced onto reservations. The Indian Removal Act of 1830 led to the tragic Trail of Tears, in which thousands of Cherokee people were forcibly relocated from their homes in the southeast to Indian Territory, present-day Oklahoma. Expansion westward also exacerbated the debate over slavery. As new territories were acquired, the question of whether they would be open to slavery divided the nation.
Section 5. A Nation Divided, the Civil War. The issue of slavery would ultimately tear the nation apart. The southern states, economically dependent on enslaved labor, clashed with the abolitionist North. In 1860, the election of Abraham Lincoln, who opposed the expansion of slavery, proved to be a turning point. 11 southern states seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. In 1861, the Civil War erupted, pitting brother against brother in a bloody conflict that would claim the lives of over 600,000 Americans. The war was fought on multiple fronts, from Gettysburg to Vicksburg, with each battle highlighting the human cost of division. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, issued in 1863, declared that all enslaved people in Confederate-held territory were to be freed. This proclamation transformed the war into a fight not just to preserve the Union, but also to end slavery. After 4 long years of war, the Confederacy surrendered in 1865. The nation, scarred but not broken, began the difficult process of Reconstruction. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution abolished slavery, guaranteed equal protection under the law, and granted African American men the right to vote. However, the road to racial equality would be long and arduous, marked by resistance, setbacks, and the enduring legacy of slavery.
Section 6. Industry's Rise, Progress, and Problems. The latter half of the 19th century witnessed an unprecedented period of industrial growth and technological innovation. The United States underwent a dramatic transformation, evolving from an agrarian society into an industrial powerhouse. Railroads crisscrossed the nation, connecting distant markets and fueling the rise of cities. Factories sprang up in urban centers, producing goods for a rapidly growing population. This period, often referred to as the Gilded Age, was a time of both great wealth and stark poverty. Industrialists like Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller amassed vast fortunes, while many workers toiled in dangerous conditions for low wages. Labor unions emerged to fight for better working conditions and fair treatment. The gap between the rich and the poor widened, leading to social unrest and calls for reform. The influx of immigrants from Europe and Asia provided a cheap labor source for the growing industries, but also fueled nativism and discrimination. The challenges of this era laid bare the need for social, economic, and political reforms to address the inequalities and injustices of the time.